We're often told that success is all about talent and hard work. Simple, right? But what if that's only part of the story? Today, we're diving into Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers to uncover the hidden, often invisible, forces that really shape who makes it to the top and who doesn't. Gladwell kicks things off with this amazing metaphor. He says, look, if you want to understand why one oak tree is taller than all the others, you don't just study the acorn it came from. You have to look at the whole forest, the soil, the sunlight, the other trees around it. And he argues it's the exact same for successful people. So, this book poses a really radical question. What if our most cherished belief about success, the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps idea, is fundamentally flawed? To find the answer, we first have to unpack a story we all know and love, the myth of the self-made hero. We are absolutely fascinated by this idea, right? The lone genius who rises from nothing, powered only by their own brilliance and hard work. It's a fantastic story, but according to Gladwell, it's pretty much a fairy tale. So the first crack in this myth comes from a place you would probably never expect, Canadian junior hockey. Yeah, it's a super weird pattern. If you look at the rosters of elite all-star youth hockey teams in Canada, you see this massive overrepresentation of players born in January, February, and March. What in the world is going on? Well, as you can see from the data, it has absolutely nothing to do with astrology. It's way simpler. The cutoff date for youth leagues is January 1st. So a kid born on January 2nd is playing with and against kids who could be almost a full year younger. And at that age, that's a massive physical advantage. And this is a perfect example of a key concept called a cumulative advantage. The slightly older, slightly bigger kids get chosen for the top teams. That means they get better coaches, more practice, more games. That tiny initial advantage just snowballs year after year until it creates a huge gap in skill. They weren't born better players, they just got a head start. Now, this idea of a hidden advantage leads us straight into Gladwell's most famous concept, one that almost everyone misunderstands. The 10,000-hour rule. You've probably heard this number. Research suggests that this is the magic number for true world-class expertise. The very best violinists, chess grandmasters, coders, they all have about 10,000 hours of focused practice under their belt. But here is the critical twist. Gladwell's point isn't just, hey, work hard for 10,000 hours. His real question is, who on earth gets the chance to do that? Getting that much practice requires an extraordinary set of circumstances. So the real path isn't just a straight line of effort. You've got to have talent, for sure. But then you need a lucky break, something that opens a door and gives you the chance to put in all those hours when almost no one else can. Just think about Bill Gates. In the late 1960s, having access to a computer was incredibly rare. But his private high school, through a series of total flukes, happened to have one of the most advanced computer terminals in the country. He got his 10,000 hours of programming in before most people his age had even seen a computer. As he puts it himself, he was just very, very lucky. Okay, so success depends on timing and lucky breaks. But Gladwell pushes it even further, arguing that we're all deeply shaped by powerful, invisible cultural legacies passed down through generations. To see what he means, let's look at two guys. First, Chris Langan. His IQ was estimated to be around 195, higher than Einstein's. He grew up in poverty and ended his career working as a bouncer. Then there's Robert Oppenheimer, another genius. He literally tried to poison his tutor in college, but he talked his way out of it and went on to lead the Manhattan Project. What was the difference? It wasn't brains. It was what Gladwell calls practical intelligence, knowing how to work the system. Oppenheimer's wealthy family taught him how to negotiate with people in power. Langan, coming from a world of poverty and crisis, never learned those skills. They aren't skills you're born with, they're taught. And this kind of cultural inheritance can be unbelievably sticky. Gladwell points to the culture of honor, which first developed among herdsmen in remote, lawless places. Since their animals could be stolen easily, their reputation for being tough was everything. They had to respond to any insult, any challenge aggressively. And get this. That mindset didn't just vanish. It traveled across the ocean to the American South, fueling those infamous, violent family feuds in 1800s. And what's truly mind-blowing is that psychological experiments in the 1990s found that college students from the South still had a measurably more aggressive physiological response to being insulted than students from the North. That legacy is still there, centuries later.
So when you put it all together, the hidden advantages, the lucky breaks, the cultural legacies, what does the real story of success actually look like?
Well, Gladwell's conclusion is pretty clear. We have to throw out the myth of the self-made person. Success isn't a solo act. It's really a gift, a product of where you're from, the time you were born, and the lucky chances you were given. So the new formula is, well, it's messy. It's a combination of timing, being in the right place at the right time. It's about opportunity, getting those lucky breaks. And it's about legacy, all those invisible advantages and attitudes we inherit from our ancestors. Which brings us right back to that forest. The tallest oak is the tallest, sure, partly because it came from a strong acorn, but it's also the tallest because it was lucky enough to get good soil, lucky that no other trees blocked its sun, and lucky that no one came along and chopped it down. And that leaves us with a really big, challenging question. If we accept that success isn't earned alone, what's our responsibility? How do we start building a world, a better forest, that gives more people a chance to get that sunlight and grow tall? What does that world look like?